where's this infinite love? If free will leads to us suffering, why is this infinitely loving God creating suffering? I was wondering what you thought of this.
Why am I convinced that you should move your faith from Buddha and Buddhism to Jesus Christ? Because of the problem of suffering. What is this typical statue of Buddha? What's he doing? Cross legs, cross the arms, a little smile on his face, right? All right, what's the ultimate symbol of Jesus Christ? What are some of you wearing around your necks? A cross. Do you think, confronted by the problem of suffering, that it would be more wise to trust a guy who's dying an excruciatingly painful death on a cross than it would be to trust a guy who's sitting cross-legged with a little smile on his face?
He was like ridiculously emaciated, came very close to death, experienced great suffering. But like, I feel like that's a bit of like jumping away from the problem of what we're talking about is like, why does suffering exist? What is the nature of suffering? In Buddhism, we believe it's just inherent in our being caught up in samsara and the cycle of death and rebirth. I don't interpret that literally, but I believe it refers to the way in which we're one person. I'm Patrick the student now. One day I'll be Patrick the father. We die, one person dies, something arises. Interpreted from the context of anatta, no self. We have this explanation for suffering, that it's just baked into our desire-ridden world. What you've talked about is, who has the rhetorical ground to speak of suffering. But we're talking about it's the same sort of argument as like, I couldn't say slavery is bad because I'm a white guy. I feel like any of us can make the point that slavery is bad. Any of us can see such a thing if we take a certain set of, if we take a certain set of premises, we can arrive at that conclusion. So what say you of the universal question of suffering?
Right. So Buddha says the way you deal with suffering is by cutting off your desires. We gotta have desires. You're here as a student because you have some desires to get a good education. Bravo! If you didn't have desire, you wouldn't be here. You have a desire for friendship. Bravo! So this whole idea that the way you deal with the suffering of life is to cut off your desires. No. Jesus points out the challenge is to learn to distinguish between good desires and bad desires. Desire to know God. Search for God. Read the Gospels. Check out Jesus Christ. Search for truth. Have a desire. That is good. Lust, greed, racism. You might have a cultural prejudice to that. No, not a good desire. Don't follow it. So we all have desires. So the challenge in dealing with suffering is not, oh my goodness, my nephew has spina bifida, so I'm just going to cut off my desires for his healing. No, I want my nephew to be healed.